Hi, it's Kimbun. Today is going to be a theory crafting day for GE 2025. So Brozy BBK and Man I'm Raja 5543 asked in the comment section to look at Jalan Kayu SMC. So in today's Red Dot perspective, let's look at how things are shaping up over there. The amount of content I found was quite staggering, so I decided to break this into parts. So in this video, let's talk through the calculus for the PAP, and it's going to be very interesting. So when I started my research, I did not expect that I'll be discussing this next issue.
If you wear white, you must be white. Whether in your party responsibilities or private dealings, never bring yourself or the party into disrepute.
These days, potential candidates from PAP seem to be embroiled in what I call off-white truths. And these are completely unnecessary own goals. So let's talk about why. Let's start with the incumbent, Ms. Ng Ling Ling, who manages the current Jalan Kayu ward. So outside of her MP role, she works in private equity, and prior to this, most of her career was spent in healthcare, community and social service sectors. So basically your typical politician work history. So in 2020, Ms. Ng was accused of lying at her maiden debut in the election.
I set up the Social Service Training Institute, and I allocated funds to ensure that social service agency can run critical programs.
Shortly after, one of her former colleagues, Mr. Richard Giam, posted on Facebook that Ms. Ng had falsely claimed credit for founding the Social Services Training Institute, and that it was misleading and deceptive because she was only one of the contributing members.
No process is perfect. No candidate is perfect. We are putting together a team of men and women with varied backgrounds and experiences. They've been knocked about, they've learned about life, they've made mistakes along the way, and hopefully have learned from them.
Like PM said, none of us is perfect, and I'll be the first to confess that I am not a perfect person. What went on the Facebook post this morning, I have made my clarification in my Facebook page. I have always done things as a team, and I fully acknowledge that the founding director of SSTI is Ms. Tan Bee Hyung.
I felt that in this case, this was more of a Freudian slip than a deliberate attempt to lie. After all, amidst her list of accomplishments, the distinction between founding and being a founding member of SSTI, which by the way I had no idea what that was before this, isn't exactly moving the needle with voters. I think SM Lee summed it up best.
But I would say with the social media, it is very easy now for issues to be picked up, for people to make criticisms, and these criticisms to be circulated around and possibly gain currency, whether or not they are founded.
Nonetheless, you are auditioning for what is essentially a 19,000 a month job. I think one of our regular contributors, Longan Lee, says it best. Running in politics is a scary and daunting endeavor, and you will be scrutinized. So in PAP terms, like SM Lee said, you must be white if you wear white. So question is, will Ms. Ng seek re-election at Jalan Kayu SMC? So on the 13th of March, she spoke with some reporters confidently saying that she welcomed competition as a PAP MP. First, this is smart. Inviting a multi-corner fight favors the incumbent, especially with all the chatter from multiple opposition parties looking to contest. So at the time, I assumed that it was a done deal. 2 days later, on the 15th of March, Ms. Ng did not attend the Ang Mo Kio Town Council plan launch led by SM Lee. So there were MPs from Kemang Baru and Yio Chu Kang SMCs attending. The entire Ang Mo Kio GRC team was there, so her absence was very conspicuous. Then just a few days ago on the 23rd of March, she spoke to reporters at a residents' carnival at Seletar Hill. So this time she was a lot more reserved, saying that she will trust in her leaders and that the best team must run in the GE. Also, she mentioned that she knows her limit and capacity as an individual, and that the MP role is very demanding. So from the boisterous start to the far more subdued demeanor recently, it sounds like Ms. Ng may have already thrown in the towel. Now, if the candidate for Jalan Kayu SMC is not Ms. Ng Ling Ling, then who? So these days, we're seeing ex-minister Mr. Ng Chee Meng everywhere. So as a quick introduction, Mr. Ng is an ex-education minister and minister in the Prime Minister's office. So prior to his political career, he was a pilot and the chief of the Defence Force. He last ran in GE 2020, where he lost Sengkang GRC to the Workers' Party. Despite this, he remains influential within the PAP as a Central Executive Committee member. So on the 16th of March, he was seen alongside SM Lee at a family carnival in Fernvale, which is part of Jalan Kayu SMC. So during that event, Mr. Ng invoked the son of Jalan Kayu vibes when he said that he is familiar with the area, having lived at Seletar Hill for 20 odd years. And I'm going to gripe a little here. Why do candidates keep claiming geographical affinity, especially with all the historical baggage and burden of proof? So let me unpack what I mean. So first off, there's precedence with fellow PAP MP, Mr. Koh Poon Hoon.
So Punggol has always occupied a very special place in my heart and with special memories. This and the fact that there are so many Teochews in Punggol itself kind of makes us all a bit like Teochew Nang, Kaki Nang. Coming back to Punggol East is a bit like coming home to me.
So having grew up in a farmhouse at Lorong Cheng Lim in Punggol, he rightfully made the claim as the son of Punggol in the 2013 Punggol East by-election. However, that affiliation did him little good when he lost to the Workers' Party. Which begs my original question, why even bring out geography? So to use an analogy, it's like meeting your Tinder date and claiming to have great chemistry with him or her because both of you live in Potong Pasir. But the hilarity did not end here. The son of Punggol went on to contest in Ang Mo Kio in GE 2015 and Tampines in GE 2020. 3 different elections, 3 different geographies, much to the laughter of many Singaporeans and political commenters. I think you get my point. Claiming geographical affinity will come back to bite you down the political road. So let's talk about Mr. Ng Chee Meng specifically. He claims to be familiar and lived near Jalan Kayu. So these days, everyone has the internet. So in a quick search, I found from the National Library Board archives that Mr. Ng's brothers spent their childhood at Block 27 Dover Crescent, which by the way is famous for producing PSC scholars. So it stands to reason that Mr. Ng himself is likely to have spent his childhood at the same region, nowhere near Jalan Kayu. So he mentioned that he lived in Seletar Hill for 20 odd years. So this is outside the Jalan Kayu SMC, but to be fair, he did say nearby. However, this is a privileged area, not exactly the kind of optics you want with heartland voters. More detrimentally, his geographical reference draws comparison to Mr. Koh. So this sort of parallels definitely do not help with his re-election bid. Which begs my original question again. Why make claims on geography that gives so little tactical advantage, but so much downside? If you wear white, you have to be white. Why set yourself up for potential off-white situations at all? Then there's the other elephant in the room, the Allianz NTUC Income saga from 2024. So there's a lot of moving parts, so I'm only going to highlight the key players, key events, and how it implicates Mr. Ng. So the whole saga started in July last year when German insurance company Allianz offered to buy a majority 51% stake in NTUC Income. So this was uncomfortable for many Singaporeans because this was not just another insurance company. It has a social mission to provide affordable insurance for Singaporeans. So in fact, this was why on exception basis, NTUC Income was allowed to keep over $2 billion when it converted from being a cooperative to a company in 2022. As with all mergers and acquisition deals, there are terms and conditions. So this is where the drama started. So one of the deal terms was a capital reduction exercise to return almost $2 billion to shareholders over 3 years. So let's break it down. First, a capital reduction is not unusual. Companies buy back shares to reduce the total number of shares. Deal makers argue that less capital is needed because NTUC Income was expected to run more efficiently under Allianz. And when you reduce the number of shares out there, it could increase the value of each remaining shares. So this benefits shareholders. So all of these are sound financial strategy. However, there was no word on what would happen to the $2 billion carryover cash from 2022.
NTUC Enterprise ceding control of income to a foreign company. How is NTUC Enterprise able to ensure that the acquired company, which will be foreign-owned now, be able to continue to do good like what they have always done before?
There was no word on whether NTUC Income will keep its insurance business, so any change could potentially impact policyholders.
And secondly, looking ahead, how does the MAS plan to monitor and evaluate the long-term outcomes of this acquisition in terms of social impact?
there was also no word that NTUC Income would maintain its social mission. So you can see why things started to smell funny, and questions after questions came out at Parliament, and the deal was eventually rejected. At the heart of it all, Mr. Ng and the NTUC Central Committee he leads claimed that they did not know about this capital reduction plans. So this brought up questions on leadership and accountability, which could come to haunt Mr. Ng in the upcoming election. So amidst these challenges, Mr. Ng could well still be a candidate for Jalan Kayu SMC. And you know what? I know I have been quite negative about his prospect in this video, but I'm about the issues, not the person. In fact, I respect anyone for having a conviction to challenge in a one-on-one SMC fight. There were talks about him finding his way back to office by riding on the infallible Ang Mo Kio GRC team under SM Lee. Like I said earlier in the video, it is not easy to put yourself out there for everyone to nitpick, especially after you have lost only the second GRC to the opposition in Singapore's history. So if he ran a solo campaign in Jalan Kayu, I will respect that, and I will wish him all the best in the elections. So with that said, this brings us to the end of this episode of the Red Dot Perspective. What are your thoughts about the contest in Jalan Kayu SMC and the potential PAP candidates? Let us know in the group comments below, and I'll see you all tomorrow.